My name is Gavin Evans, and this is my second episode of We Review, and this time I'm going to talk about Blade Runner. Now, Blade Runner is a movie claimed to be a classic and a masterpiece by many people. So I first watched this movie back in October of 2017. I watched it to get ready for the sequel, and I went in with very high expectations, and it was one of those movies that I watched and I didn't really enjoy. I was incredibly let down by it, but it was one of those movies that afterwards I was like, I still liked it, but it was a letdown. I didn't want to process the whole disappointment of it itself. I said I liked it, but looking back, I remember being bored by it the entire time. But a few days later, I watched the sequel, Blade Runner 2049, and I think I get what most people get from this first Blade Runner movie from Blade Runner 2049. Like what it means to be human and what makes us alive and how it ponders upon those questions. I think that movie does it a lot better. But I just rewatched Blade Runner for the very first time, and I have to say that I don't get the love this movie gets. In fact, I watched Blade Runner 2049 after this movie. I'll do a whole review for that another day. But once again, I think everything that people get from this movie, I get from the sequel. I think the sequel does this movie better because this movie, I'm just going to say it, it's incredibly boring. Oh my goodness, this movie is so slow and unexciting. I think it's a complete drag to get to. Now, let's talk about what I do like about this movie. The visual aesthetic of this movie is absolutely iconic. You've seen it influence so many movies. There's a TV show I love called Batman Beyond, and I'm sure that the entire visual aesthetic of that TV show came from this movie. It is influential, and the movie looks amazing. Another area of this movie that I absolutely love is, I'm going to try to pronounce his name properly, Rutger Hauer. He plays the villain in this movie, I guess. He's actually really amazing in this movie. He is great in this movie, and I kind of wish he was in the movie more, because for the main villain, the main final conflict fight that's building throughout the entire movie, we don't get to see him as much as I would have liked to, but there's a few scenes with him that he's really good in this movie. And I actually do like that last fight. I like most of the last act of this movie. It's not like the most exciting final fight ever, but it's definitely a step up from the rest of the movie. And I do think some of the ideas on display here are interesting, but I just don't think the movie dives into them whatsoever. It introduces them at surface level, and it just, I just feel like it's lacking any sort of depth. The entire story, the detective element of him looking for these replicants, I don't think that story really ties into the main ideas that it's trying to, as well as the movie thinks it is. It just has a very scattered and all over the place kind of feel to it. It's just like, okay, well, what's this movie going for here? You know, there's characters that get introduced for one scene, then forgotten. Like I said, the main villain doesn't really get built up too much. It's just got all these different characters, and like, what are their pieces in this bigger movie? And by the end, it doesn't become clear. You just look back and you're like, that was just all over the place. And there's a romance in this movie that's forced in more ways than one, but I never cared for this couple, and I can't believe I was supposed to. They just had zero chemistry. It was creepy, it was uncomfortable, and yeah, I didn't really care for them. Also, I just felt like this movie is empty on a thematic level. Like, it just doesn't grab you. It really doesn't. I want to love this movie. I want to watch and be blown away by it like everyone else is. But I just watch it and I'm just like, what movie is everybody else watching? Oh, like, I just find this movie to be slow and boring. Like, there's a scene where Harrison Ford is looking at a picture and he's zooming in. And I love stuff like that. I love it when there's a picture in a movie and you're just waiting for the main character to catch something in it. You know, he's looking around like, what's he missing? And you're waiting for that thing to pop up in the picture. You're just waiting. Like, this is a movie called Lake Munga. It's a horror movie, and pretty much that entire movie is what I just described. There's a bunch of pictures and videos, and you're just looking throughout them, looking for what's there. And when you find it, it doesn't draw attention to it. Instead, once you see it, you're like, oh my goodness, that's creepy, and your skin just crawls. In this movie, when he's looking through this picture, I'm just like, Oh my god, speed up already. But that's not to say I think this movie is absolutely terrible. Rutger Hauer's great, there's some good ideas, and the last act is actually pretty decent. I just don't get the love this movie receives. I just don't get it. I don't think it's this thought-provoking, mind-blowing masterpiece. I know it's a big question of, oh, is Deckard a replicant? I didn't care. I never had that question throughout. I don't even think it introduces it in a compelling way. I feel like that's you watch the movie and you're just like, what if he was a replicant? And that question comes up in your mind, but the movie never brought it up to me. I don't like this movie, and I'll never understand the love it gets. I don't think it's terrible, but I don't love it. So anyways, my unhonest opinion of this movie before was a 7 out of 10, but my updated, honest opinion of it now is a 4 out of 10. Okay, do you think I'm a bloody idiot who doesn't get masterpieces? Then let me know in the comments down below. Make sure you like, make sure you comment, make sure you subscribe. Stay tuned for some more videos soon, and Gavin out.